Okay, we'll make a start. I'd like to officially welcome you to St Mary's University for our third symposium that's been delivered by the suite of football programmes here at St Mary's University. We have the fourth one coming up at on the 9th of May, and that will be in partnership with Chelsea Football Club Foundation and International Women's Day, so we'll give you more details about that at the end. The idea of these symposiums, I guess, is to challenge current thinking. Programme leader Tom Hounsell came up with the concept of trying to challenge and identifying some of the problems that exist. And so today we'll be looking at the problems that exist within the world of athletic development, particularly related to how we develop young football players and related to, obviously, within an elite performance environment. We're really fortunate today, as you can see from the list of speakers here, to have such an array, an eclectic mix of professionals and academics, and from a range of different experiences. And I think that should be celebrated. And officially thank those that have given up their precious time, particularly those who work in both higher education and professional sport, whereby time can be precious, particularly at this time of year. So it's a thank you from me and the rest of the team for coming to give up your valuable time today. I've no doubt that when the speakers begin to discuss and present on their topics, you'll see such a fascinating array of themes that will be discussed. So I'm going to kick off the session for today by trying to identify some of the problems that I've experienced over my last 15 years within academy football and within higher education as well. Particularly, how do we challenge some of the ecological constraints that currently exist, particularly with the generation of young people we're currently working with. So you've probably come across these two terms recently within the media, discussing the current generation of snowflakes and parents of snowplows. And I think about a couple of weeks ago, the head teacher of one of the local schools suggested that parents using WhatsApp groups were being detrimental to their child's growth, whereby they were putting they were effectively sweeping all the problems out of the way. So they were chasing up on whether those children had their homework due when it was due, whether they had PE and so on. So one of the first challenges, I think, for me would be, if we take the simple thought process that we need to, in order to develop physically, we need to make our players uncomfortable physically, and we need to extend their physical range. How do we establish an environment that allows them to do that? And when we use the term snowflakes and snowplows, we are, I guess, making some sweeping generalisations. But I think over the years that I've been working in professional sport, there are more and more young people that we're working with that have reduced resilience, that will give up when they are faced with physical discomfort. Those of you who read slightly bigger newspapers than the tabloids would have seen an article by the Fulham manager, Scott Parker, who suggested that it's far too easy now to give up and move on to something else. I know as university lecturers we often talk about the Primark generation, where I can go and buy a t-shirt for £2.99, chuck it in the bin once I've spent 5 days in Ibiza. And I think that's very similar to us. How do we create the environments within elite performance settings whereby we can challenge those young people to be physically uncomfortable, so we can stretch them physically, and I guess for us not to act as snowplows, and to make sure that the environments that we are creating are physically challenging, and we don't allow any excuses for those players to drop out. The next challenge I think we've got is this rise in current research around the need for specialisation, the need for diversification, particularly within highly specialised environments. current papers by sort of Cote and Martin Bridges and Toms from Birmingham University have suggested that we're more likely to be successful within a variety of sports if the children have come from or have participated in multiple sports up until the age of 15. Now, ecologically, that wouldn't happen and probably can't happen within a football setting. Now, if that's the case, how do we then diversify those children's experiences, particularly at a young age, whereby, yes, they're becoming highly specialised within their chosen sport, but we enhance their movement vocabulary by encouraging them to participate in a range of different activities within that environment that we establish. Some current research that myself and colleagues are doing are looking at participation levels of 6 and 7-year-olds within football academy development centres, and some of the initial findings that we've got from that are quite frightening, whereby 6 or 7-year-old will be participating in probably 12 hours of one sport per week. So if they're signed with one club, or if they're in a development centre with one club, they're probably in a development centre with 2 or 3 clubs. Now, if you take that as 3 times a week, you then add on top, they're probably training and playing for the school and a club side. That's 6 times a week that they're actually participating in one sport. Now, if we look at it from a neurological perspective, although that participation in one sport, is that necessarily best for them over the duration of their potential athletic career? So again, I think a challenge for us working with some of those younger players is how do we establish and provide a diverse environment within a highly specialised setting. So those of you know, that's probably one of the most popular personal trainers within the UK at the moment, Bradley Simmons. Bradley was one of the first players that I coached. He ended up not being a professional football player. I'm hoping that's nothing to do with any of my input. The reason I put that example up there is that our young players today have got access to data and evidence and ideas around how they might develop their own athletic performance. Internally, they get access to GPS data, how they sleep. They can then go home and access videos online using a variety of social media models to pick up that information. So I would suggest our third challenge is how do we go beyond the what and the how and begin to teach the players the why. So any good athletic development curriculum would establish the why at the heart of their approach in how they work and deliver the programme to the young people they're working with. Effectively, what I'm saying is that they can get the what and the how from a variety of sources outside of the environments that they're working in and developing in. So is it our job and responsibility to establish the why? So hopefully those challenges, I think, will be, hopefully some of them will be answered today in the remaining talks, but maybe keep in mind those 3 ideas and how we might begin to develop ourselves in order to help the young people we're working with.